Have you ever noticed how some people seem to thrive on conflict? How they create storms where there's no wind? How they turn simple conversations into emotional battlegrounds? And you, for years, you've been dragged into these storms, reacting, defending, explaining, exhausted. Eckhart Tolle discovered something that completely changes this dynamic, something that most people ignore because it seems too simple to be true. When you stop reacting to other people's drama, something extraordinary happens, not just for you, but for them too. Today, I'm going to reveal exactly what happens the moment you stop feeding other people's drama, why it's so difficult, and why this skill might be the most powerful thing you ever develop. But first, I need you to understand what Eckhart Tolle calls the pain body. The pain body is an energetic entity that lives inside us. It feeds on emotional suffering, and not just your own suffering. It feeds on drama, on conflict, on negativity. Tolle explains in The Power of Now that until you can access the power of the present moment, every emotional pain you experience leaves behind a residue that continues living in you. It merges with the pain of the past and lodges itself in your mind and in your body. This accumulation of unprocessed pain creates a kind of entity, an entity that needs to be fed in order to survive. And how does it feed? Through your reactions. When someone creates drama and you react, you are literally feeding that person's pain body. You're giving it exactly what it needs to continue existing. And here's the part that no one tells you. The other person's pain body recognizes yours. They communicate. They're attracted to each other. And on an unconscious level, they create situations that generate more drama so that both can feed. This explains why you find yourself repeatedly involved in conflicts with the same people, why certain dynamics seem impossible to break, why you walk away from a discussion exhausted, as if you've lost vital energy, because you have. Tolle says that the pain body wants to survive, just like any other entity in existence, and it can only survive if you unconsciously identify with it. Then it rises up, takes over you, becomes you, and lives through you. Have you ever said something in an argument and then thought, "That didn't sound like me"? That was the pain body talking. Have you ever felt anger that was disproportionate to the situation? That was the pain body feeding. Have you ever rehashed a conversation for hours, days, unable to let it go? That was the pain body digesting its meal. But here's what Tolle reveals about healing, and it's simpler than you imagine. The moment you observe the pain body, the moment you feel its energy field inside you and bring your attention to it, the identification is broken. You stop being the pain body. You become the observer of the pain body. And that change in perspective changes absolutely everything. When someone tries to drag you into their drama and you observe your own reaction without acting on it, something magical happens. First, you interrupt the feeding cycle. The other person's pain body doesn't get what it needs. It gets confused. It escalates, trying to provoke a bigger reaction. And when that doesn't work either, it starts to lose strength. Second, you stop losing your vital energy. That post-conflict exhaustion disappears. You walk away from dramatic interactions intact, preserved, sometimes even energized by the very awareness you maintained. Third, and this is the most profound, you offer the other person an opportunity to awaken. Tolle explains that unconsciousness and awareness cannot coexist for long. The form of energy that is behind hostility and attack finds the presence of love absolutely intolerable. When you remain present in the face of attack, without reacting, you are offering presence. You are offering love. And unconsciousness cannot survive in that environment. Now let me show you the 3 levels of awareness that Tolle describes for dealing with challenging situations. The first level is what disturbs you externally. The person yelling, the mean comment, the provocation. The second level is your reaction, the physical contractions, the emotions like frustration or anger, the thoughts about the situation. The third level is your awareness of both of the previous levels, being the conscious space for them. Most people live trapped in the first and second levels. Something happens. They react, and they're dragged into the drama. But when you can bring your attention to the third level, to the awareness that observes both the situation and your reaction, changes happen in the other two levels. You're no longer trapped, you're aware. And that awareness is the antidote to drama. But I know what you're thinking. In theory, this sounds easy. In practice, when someone is attacking you, how do you simply not react? And here's where I need to be honest with you. In the beginning, it's incredibly difficult. Tolle admits that it is not easy at first to be there as the witnessing presence, especially when the ego is in survival mode, or when some emotional pattern from the past has been activated. Your pain body wants to feed. It will fight for it. It will create justifications. It will say that you need to defend yourself, that you can't let this one pass, that you're right, and you need to prove it. These are all strategies of the pain body to get its reaction. But once you have experienced this, even briefly, Tolle says that you will grow in power of presence, and the ego will lose its influence over you. Each time you manage to observe without reacting, you get stronger. And each time the pain body ceases to be fed, it gets weaker. It's a training. And it doesn't happen overnight, but the results are extraordinary. You start to perceive the dramas before you're dragged into them. You see the other person's pain body rising up. You recognize the tactics of provocation, and you can consciously choose not to participate. This is the true freedom that Tolle teaches. It's not about controlling others. It's not about avoiding all difficult people. It's about developing a presence so strong that drama simply can't touch you. Now let me tell you what happens to the people around you when you develop this skill. First, the people who thrive on drama will test you. They will escalate. They will try bigger provocations. They will get confused by your lack of reaction. This is expected. It's their pain body fighting for survival. But if you stay present, something interesting happens. Some of these people simply drift away. They seek other sources of fuel, others who will react. And you realize that the friendship, the relationship, the interaction was based on drama. When the drama ends, there's nothing left. This can be painful to realize, but it's liberating. Other people, however, start to change. Your presence offers them an opportunity to notice their own pattern. Some wake up. Some begin to question why they create so much conflict. Some apologize for things you'd already forgotten. You become, without trying. They're a catalyst for transformation, not preaching, not teaching, simply being present. And perhaps most importantly, you recover your vital energy. That chronic exhaustion you felt? A lot of it came from the constant drama, from emotional reactions, from the mental rumination after the conflicts. When that stops, you discover reserves of vital energy you didn't know you had. You sleep better, think with more clarity, have more energy for the things that really matter. And it all starts with a simple change: stopping the reaction. Let me give you an example that perfectly illustrates how this works in practice. Imagine a person who spent years in a relationship where every conversation turned into an argument. Every request became an accusation. Every day ended in emotional exhaustion. She tried talking calmly. Didn't work. Tried arguing logically. Didn't work. Tried giving in. Didn't work. Tried resisting. Didn't work. Nothing worked because she was playing the game of drama. And when you play the game of drama, even if you play it well, you're still playing. And the game is the problem. One day, she discovered Eckhart Tolle's teachings and experienced something different. When her partner started to escalate, instead of reacting, she simply observed his anger, observed her own reaction arising, and chose not to feed either of them. The silence was uncomfortable. Her partner tried to provoke her in other ways, accused, taunted, manipulated. But she remained present, not with coldness, not with contempt, simply present, observing, breathing, and something extraordinary happened. Her partner's pain body, without receiving the reaction it needed, began to lose strength. The outburst that normally would last for hours ended in minutes. And then, something that had never happened before. He apologized, not because she won the argument, but because she didn't enter the argument. And by not entering, she offered him a mirror where he could see his own behavior. That's the power of non-reactivity. It's not magic. It doesn't always work on the first try, but it does work. And the more you practice, the more it works. There's also something that Tolle explains about the neuroscience of reactivity that's fascinating. When you react emotionally to a provocation, your body releases cortisol and adrenaline. Your nervous system enters fight or flight mode, your prefrontal cortex. The part of the brain responsible for rational thought is partially deactivated. Literally. You become less intelligent when you react. And that's why after an argument you often think, why did I say that? Because you weren't thinking. Your pain body was reacting. But when you observe the reaction without acting on it, something different happens. You maintain access to your prefrontal cortex. You remain capable of thinking clearly. You can choose your response instead of being enslaved by an automatic reaction. That's the neurological basis of what Tolle teaches about presence. Presence isn't just a spiritual concept. It's a real physiological state where you maintain control of your higher faculties instead of being hijacked by your primitive nervous system. And anyone can develop this with practice. But let me delve deeper into something that Tolle explains about the nature of drama, and that changes how you see conflicts. He says there's something in you that wants peace, but there's also something that wants drama and conflict. Read that again. Part of you wants peace, and part of you wants the drama. That seems contradictory, doesn't it? Why would anyone want drama? Because drama makes you feel alive. Drama gives the ego a sense of importance. Drama creates a narrative where you're the hero or the victim. Either way, you're the center of the story, and the ego desperately needs to be the center of the story. Tolle explains that the pain body, when awakened, can take the form of irritation, impatience, a dark mood, a desire to hurt, anger, rage, depression, or a need to have drama in your relationship. The key is to catch it the moment it awakens from its dormant state. That's easier said than done, because the moment the pain body awakens, it hijacks your perception. You're no longer looking at the situation. You're looking through the lens of the pain body. And those lenses distort everything. An innocent observation becomes a personal attack. A simple request becomes an unfair demand. A misunderstanding becomes proof that the person doesn't respect you. Have you ever had an argument about something small that escalated completely out of proportion? That's the pain body distorting your perception. And here's the scariest part. You think you're seeing reality. You think your anger is justified. You think the other person is really the problem. But as Tolle points out, quoting Carl Jung, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. You're being controlled, and you think you're in control. Now comes the practical part. How exactly do you stop reacting? Tolle offers a simple but powerful technique. As soon as you feel a negative emotion like fear, sadness, or anger, along with a contraction in your body, it's time to get really present with the emotion before it starts to control your mind and your actions. You feel the emotion in the body. Don't think about it. Feel it. Where do you feel the anger? In your chest, in your throat, in your shoulders? You observe the physical contraction without trying to change it, without trying to relax. Just observe. This observation creates a space between you and the emotion. Suddenly, you're no longer the anger. You're the one who observes the anger. And in that space, you have a choice. You can choose not to react. You can choose not to say that thing that will escalate the conflict. You can choose to wait until the emotional storm passes. That's power. Not the power to control others, the power to control yourself. And that changes all your relationships, because when you stop reacting to drama, you stop creating more drama. And when you stop creating more drama, conflicts start to dissolve, not because you gave in, not because you agreed with everything, but because you removed the fuel that kept the fire burning. There's a question you need to ask yourself before reacting to any provocation. If peace matters to me more than anything else, would I choose to remain non-reactive and absolutely alert? When confronted with challenging people or situations, if peace really matters more, the choice becomes clear. But here's the uncomfortable truth. For many people, peace doesn't matter more. The ego matters more. Being right matters more. Proving a point matters more. And that's why the drama continues, not because other people are terrible, but because we secretly need the drama, just as much as they do. Recognizing this in yourself is the first step toward freedom. Now let me tell you what happens on a deeper level when you develop this skill of non-reactivity. Tolle describes 3 levels of awareness, and most people live only in the first 2. The first level is the external situation. What's happening around you? The words being said, the actions being taken. The second level is your internal response, the thoughts that arise, the emotions that emerge, the physical sensations that appear. The third level is the awareness that perceives both, the conscious space in which all of this happens. When you can access the third level, you are present, you are aware, you are beyond the drama, and from that place, you can act with clarity, not react impulsively, act consciously. There's a huge difference. Reacting is automatic and unconscious. It's the pain body operating. Acting is chosen and conscious. It's you operating, and the results are completely different. When you react, you usually escalate the conflict. You say things you regret. You hurt people you love. You feed your own pain body, and the other person's too. When you act consciously, you can address the real problem. You can communicate your needs without attack. You can set boundaries without hostility. You can even choose to walk away without resentment. Do you understand the difference? I'm not saying to ignore problems. I'm not saying to accept abusive treatment. I'm not saying to never defend yourself. I'm saying to do those things from a place of awareness, not of reaction, because reaction always makes things worse. Always. Even when you win the argument, you lose energy. Even when you prove you were right, you damage the relationship. Even when you win the battle, you often lose the war. Non-reactivity isn't passivity. It's wisdom. It's the deep understanding that feeding drama never leads to peace, that proving you're right never leads to true connection, that winning arguments never leads to lasting happiness. Do you want to be right, or do you want to have peace? That question, asked repeatedly before reacting, can transform your life. Now let me give you a specific practice that Tolle teaches to develop this capacity for non-reactivity. He says that if you keep your attention in the body as much as possible, you'll be anchored in the now. You won't get lost in the external world. You won't get lost in your mind. This means that before entering any potentially challenging interaction, you bring your attention to your body. Feel your feet on the ground. Feel your hands. Feel your breath going in and out. This anchors you in the present moment, and when you're anchored in the present, the pain body has much less power over you. It needs you to be lost in thoughts about the past or worries about the future to hijack you. When you're fully present, it can't operate. Think of all the times you overreacted to something. Were you present in that moment, or were you reacting to all the previous times something similar happened? Most of the time, we don't react to the present situation. We react to all the past situations that this situation reminds us of. The pain body uses the past as fuel, but the past only exists in your mind. In the present moment, there is only this moment, and in this moment, without all the baggage of the past. Most situations aren't as dramatic as they seem. That remark that seemed like an attack, Maybe it was just an observation. That tone of voice that irritated you? Maybe the person was just tired. That request that seemed like a demand? Maybe it was just a request. When you remove the lenses of the pain body, reality looks different, less threatening, less dramatic, more manageable. You've just discovered how drama really works and how you can break free from it through conscious presence. Few channels reveal this because the very concept of the pain body challenges how most live. When you click super thanks, you're not just supporting content, you're saying presence matters more than reactivity. You're choosing awareness. Now let me give you the signs that you're developing this skill. First, you start to notice your reactions before you act on them. Before, anger would arise, and you'd already be speaking. Now, anger arises, and you observe. You still feel it. But you don't act automatically. Second, the conflicts around you diminish, not because people have changed, but because you've stopped feeding the drama, and without fuel, the fire goes out. Third, you regain energy. That constant exhaustion starts to disappear. You realize that much of your tiredness came from emotional drama, not from work or responsibilities. Fourth, your relationships transform. Some deepen. When the drama leaves, genuine connection can enter. Others dissolve, and you realize they were based only on toxic dynamics. Fifth, you develop a peace that doesn't depend on external circumstances. This is the deepest one. A peace that doesn't need things to be a certain way. A peace that exists, independent of what's happening around you. This is what Tolle calls a peace that transcends all understanding. It's not a fragile peace that any conflict can destroy. It's a solid peace that remains, even in the middle of chaos. Now let me tell you something you might not want to hear. Developing this skill in what takes time. You're going to fail. Many times. You're going to be dragged into dramas. You're going to react when you don't want to. You're going to feed pain bodies when you promised you wouldn't do that anymore. And that's okay. Each time you notice that you reacted, you're developing awareness. Each time you observe yourself in the midst of drama, you are growing. Every single time you choose not to react, even if it's just once out of 10 times, you are becoming stronger. Don't judge yourself by the slow progress. Judge yourself by the direction. Are you walking towards more awareness or towards more reactivity? If you are here whilst watching this, whilst you're reflecting on this, the answer is clear. You are walking in the right direction, and every step counts. Eckhart Tolle reminds us that reaction is not true sensitivity. Reaction is a conditioned way of responding to a situation, and every reaction really comes from the past. True sensitivity comes when you are absolutely present in a situation and you face it totally as it is. This is what differentiates reacting from responding. Reacting comes from the past. It's automatic. It's unconscious. Responding comes from the present. It's chosen. It's conscious. And you can learn to make the transition from one to the other. Here's a practice for the next few days before any interaction that has the potential for drama. Take a pause of 3 breaths. Feel your body. Anchor yourself in the present. After the interaction, observe. Did you react or did you respond? Were you dragged into the drama or did you remain present? Don't judge yourself. Just observe. This consistent observation will change you. Not because you are trying to change, but because the observation itself is transformative. And always remember what Tolle teaches. Unconsciousness and awareness cannot coexist for very long. When you remain conscious in the face of drama, unconsciousness loses power. Not just in you, but in everyone around you. You become a portal of awareness. I'm not preaching, not teaching, simply being. And that is more powerful than any argument you could win. In the comments, tell me, what was the last time you were dragged into drama and then realized you didn't need to have reacted? Be honest. I read them all, and respond in the first few hours. And this honesty helps others who are going through the same process until the next awakening.